Hey parents, it's Mr. Sunny with Magic Book University. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Role Models. Every week we invite an inspirational person that's doing really great things in the world and really helping a lot of people learn and grow and become better. Today we have Shikha Shah. She has her Bachelor's of Arts in Family and Child Studies from Montclair State University and her Master's of Social Work from Rutgers University. Currently, she's working for Penn Medicine as a primary therapist, and her major focus is behavioral therapy with adolescents and families. Also, Shikha Shah is one of the hardest working people that I know. She's very motivated to help people really grow to the next level and become better through her practice. And she's also my sister. And she is very dedicated, very hardworking, and just an inspirational and definitely a role model to me. Even though she's younger than I am, I still look up to her because she focuses on her goal and she goes and gets it. And on top of that, she's helping tons of people and tons of kids really realize their true selves and become better every single day. So Shikha, thank you so much for coming on to Role Models. I'm really happy to have you here. And I know that this talk and this interview is really going to make a difference in a lot of parents, families, and children's lives. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. So Shikha, can you tell us a little bit about what your story is and how you got started with becoming a social worker and the reasons that you went into it?
Okay, so currently, I guess it's helpful for me to start a little bit on what I do right now so I can
Sure.
kind of backtrack because
Yeah.
it all ties together.
Yeah.
So right now, like you mentioned, I'm a primary therapist and I'm a clinically licensed social worker.
Wait,
So
hold on.
I
Hold on. How old are you?
I just turned 26.
She's 26 years old and she's a primary therapist. So that right there says it. She's a role model. So she can keep going. She's
Okay, so
accomplishing big things at such a young age. I'm really proud of her.
thank you. So I decided to become a social worker just because well, a lot of reasons, but I originally wanted to be a teacher, which I had such great role models, and I grew up having such great teachers in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And we come from such a nurturing family. And so I always found myself in this role of how do I help people? And so when I went to college, I sat with my advisor and he said, which is my own personal like view of it was, do you see yourself being a teacher? And I said, yes. And he said, well, you said you want to help people. And I said, yes. And he says, are there other ways that you can help people? And I never thought about it. I assumed that like growing up, there was only 5 options for me. It was like becoming a doctor, becoming a nurse, becoming a lawyer, going into business, and something else, maybe like science related.
Like an
And
engineer.
yes, like an
Yeah.
engineer. And I think that was just the way that like society was shaping us, and I didn't have as many options, so I chose teaching because that was like my way of thinking I can help people.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing internships, I started meeting people, I found people to be really inspiring, and so I chose social work because I realized that I can be connected with people on an individual and like a community and society level.
Mm-hmm.
So my story backtrack. I guess growing up, I was always like a social kid. You know, like I had a lot of friends. Like I still like have a really big friend group. Like I always made friends wherever. I was a social butterfly. I would talk to people. I was like energetic, creative. And I guess I never really realized that was kind of like my superpower was being able to like connect with people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just never thought that I could use that for something in my life and like
Yeah.
to use my empathy or like my like ability to just be with another person and like understand them and take on their emotions and help them.
Yeah.
So I kind of ignored that side of me. Like I just never really I used it to like make friends and network and get places in my life, but I didn't realize that I could actually make that my career.
Yeah.
So I focused a lot of like energy on doing things that were helpful but didn't push me so far. So like studying in ways that didn't help, or like
Yeah.
just like trying to memorize things. And I always like judged myself because I couldn't like excel that way. And I like
Mm-hmm.
never fit in with people who did excel in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I ended up now the reason why I love working with families and adolescents and young children is because I love to inspire people to find different ways that they can excel in their own ways and find their own superpowers and their, tap into that within them. So I think that that's sort of my story, and I guess I can get more into it as we go into more other questions, but I think it's mainly because I wanted to work with people to teach them and find ways to help them to use their own strengths and capitalize on them to reach their goals.
Yeah, I think that's really important. You said a couple things that I really like. That the first thing was that everybody has this superpower that's inside of them. It's just that it needs to be cultivated and grown and really nurtured for it to come out. And another really interesting thing that you said that I also liked is that you had like 5 really big things that you could choose from. And as a culture and as a society, we usually push kids into these things. And just because children aren't excelling in, say, like math or English or science, it doesn't mean that they're going to be failures in life, right? Yeah. Like it just, like, your major strong suit was being social. And I know that because everybody refers to me as Shika's older brother, because they know who you are. And it's because you have those skills of being able to make social interactions with the snap of a finger and really bring people into your space and make them feel better and help them and then send them on their way, that you have that superpower and gift. But that's not something that you learn in school. That's something that you've learned and cultivated throughout the years on how to form relationships. And that's your superpower. And you're using something that you didn't learn in school to help you in your real life and make a living, make money, and most importantly, help people. So it's not just the things like math and science or English and reading that are important. Don't get me wrong, parents, I'm not saying that like that stuff's not important, but
still very important.
Still very important. But there's also other things about your child's characteristics and their personality that will help and shape and redefine who they are as people and where they will be going in the world, especially being here. So thank you. That was really insightful, and I definitely really like that. So what were your biggest challenges when you were growing up as a kid?
So I think that the biggest challenge that I had, so it's not as much, I think academically I had my own challenges because I'm more wired on the side of my emotion side and more of like my creative side. So yeah, I was an average student in math and science. But I think that the biggest challenge I had was going back to like a personality type. I don't think I felt like I didn't fit in with people in the way that I was expected to fit in. And like that created a lot of shame for me growing up. And it wasn't something that like anybody told me or anyone like directly said to me, but because I didn't do certain things or because I didn't act in certain ways or, if I didn't do the things that are culturally appropriate of me at all times or, act like the way that I'm supposed to or should, I felt like it was always a shame, and I always carried that with me, and I felt so bad about it. I think that was a huge, like, I never got to be, if I could have been like the way I am right now when I was a kid, I think I would have been so much more like happier with and like confident as a kid. I think that like I masked a lot of that confidence with like, that social part of me, but I still always felt uncomfortable about it because I thought like, oh, well, I shouldn't be this social. I always had these feelings that like I couldn't be myself and I had to be like everyone else. Or like if I wasn't getting like that SAT score that all my friends were getting, then there was something wrong with me. So I should cut down on like being who I really am. But like in reality, like it was okay to be who I am because I'm like successful now. But I just always felt like I had to be something other than like what I was. And I just I was never comfortable with like, oh, like you're cool, like you're doing cool things and like you should be happy with yourself or like be confident. I was always trying to be like something other than what I really was. Yeah.
Right. And how did you overcome those challenges? Or how have you grown to overcome those challenges?
So I know that I guess I have like a little judgments when I say this out loud. So when I actually was a kid, I was in Girl Scouts. And the first, when you're younger, Girl Scouts, it's about like camping and like selling cookies and learning about leadership and stuff and like having a group of girls to be like leaders with. And over time into high school, I learned so much about being a Girl Scout, which was like leadership, and that leadership is truly about like engaging what you're good at and taking it to the next level. And I think like that's when I met people who believed in me. Like I met people in my college and like some of my closest friends to this day who were like, hey, you're doing some really cool stuff, keep it up. And like that sense of validation, I think like it was just exciting. It was so motivating that like someone could believe in me, and that like people are benefiting from like what I can do. And like I think that that was something that just like my confidence went from like a 0 to 100, and like I pushed so hard, and I like graduated early, and like I think it was just like a high level of confidence because people were able to validate me and be like, you're doing really good things. And not that I never got that before when I was younger, but not for the things that I felt like I was like truly good at. It was stuff like that I didn't feel like was important to me. And so it didn't really match up with me, but it was like a puzzle piece. Like it was something that clicked. Like it was being good at something plus people being like, yeah, you're doing really good. Like keep going. Like those things clicked, and I think I overcame that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point too, because a lot of times in the classroom we talk about with the kids that the people that you surround yourself with is the person that you become. And a lot of times kids don't really have choices on like friends to make, or they do have choices, but they kind of just sway with like, okay, this kid's playing basketball, so I'm going to play basketball with this kid because I also enjoy playing basketball. And as parents and as educators, we see it because we're retrospectively looking back on our own lives, and we're seeing that like, wow, if I chose better friends when I was a kid, I might be further along the way, or I might be doing something different than I am now. So how important do you think it is for kids to have positive friends that really root for them and really push them to be the best that they can be?
I think it's like core. I think it's core to who I am, not just like friends, but people like in my family and, you know, like in my like spiritual and like religious community. Like I think that it covers like all of those. And I want to point out too that sometimes we can't get rid of the friends who may have had like not so good of an impact on us. And I think that like those friends actually sometimes taught me more about myself, because like within me, like truly within me, I knew that like, hey, this isn't like me. Like I'm actually like, I don't really want to do that thing that I'm being pressured to do. Like there was this like little part of my like, you know, what we in the therapy world call this like wise mind, like my wise mind turned on, and like that's actually like not me. And that taught me so much more at times, because I was like, you know what, I actually, my like good friends who I'm still friends with today, those are the ones who like have been there my entire life. They were always there for me, and like I would turn to them at that time and then feel validated that like, you know what, you made the right decision. But I think that at times like, yeah, it's definitely important that we have really good friends and have that core part of us that it goes back to those friends. But at the same time, sometimes we have those friends who don't have such a good impact on us, see what we can learn from that, because there's an opportunity to see like, hey, I might not really want to hang out with these people, or like what are they bringing out in me, do I actually like these qualities? So, you know, I think I learned from that too.
Yeah, I think that's also really important. I was just talking with a bunch of students last week on the difference between positive peer pressure and negative peer pressure, because there's two different types of peer pressure, right? There's the good kind, when your friends try to pressure you into doing something good, and then the bad kind, when your friends try to pressure you into doing something bad. And I think like teaching those two different areas of peer pressure is really important, because when I grew up in school, and like maybe for you as well, I only learned about the bad type of peer pressure. I never learned about the good type of peer pressure. And I never thought peer pressure could ever be a good thing. So when I was talking to these like second, third graders about positive peer pressure, they were like, what? Like peer pressure can be good? And I was like, yeah, you know, peer pressure can be good. Like now I have friends that are pushing me to reach new goals, pushing me to like start new projects and make more of an impact in the world, where sometimes like I've shared with a lot of my students about my past that like I had a lot of friends that got me into doing stupid things, like things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. And I've learned from those experiences, just like you've learned from your experiences.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for kids and parents to also distinguish between positive and negative peer pressure, because you're right, there is a difference. And it's really important to learn from even the friends that haven't really been too helpful. So I think that
I actually have like a very vivid memory of like a friend that I had a fallout with in high school, and I was like so upset, and I was like crying, and I remember like the day, and I stayed home from school that day, and I remember mom coming into the room and just being like, listen, maybe this is actually for the best. And I was like, there's no way. I was like, no way. Like this is like my best, like this is the closest friend that I have. And I think that, you know, I can't say it was for the best or the worst, but I think that something happened that day that, like, from then on, I found like another point in my life that I could focus on, because I wasn't spending as much time and energy in this friendship that was maybe holding me back at times. So, you know, I think that it's helpful too when people are there to support you and remind you that like the world's not over, or like you can grow from an experience, even if it feels like it's the end of the world. Like you truly can grow from an experience, even in that moment, if it doesn't feel like it. Like growth is inevitable, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think, wow, that's really important for everybody to know about. So, do you struggle with anything now? Like being out of school, you you went to grade school already, you went to elementary, middle, high school, college, you have your master's degree, you're working as a successful primary therapist with Penn Medical, and like, are you facing any challenges now? Like, do you face challenges with focus or confidence or motivation or any of those things?
I think, you know, it's not something that's like I definitely feel motivated. It's just like sometimes finding the motivation and then acting on it. I think that's something that I struggle with, is because I definitely have goals, and I'm motivated to reach them because I can like see that in my future. But I think what happens is I have the goal and I have the motivation. It's just like, all right, time to act on that motivation and like put that motivation like into practice. So I think that that's something that when you get out of school and when you start working and you're getting so quickly reinforced, like every day you go to work, and like that motivation is like, it gets harder to act on some of that motivation. So I think that's like probably what I'm struggling with the most right now.
Okay. And how do you overcome that level of not finding that motivation? Like what are some of your strategies that you use for yourself to overcome those moments when you feel like I'm not really motivated right now, I don't really want to do this, like whatever. How do you overcome those moments for yourself?
So something that I'm probably going to touch on a little bit later, but that I practice as a therapist right now is a lot of mindfulness. So I am trained as a therapist, and I do a lot of mindfulness-based therapy, and a lot of those techniques and skills I teach to my patients and my clients, and I'm actually expected to practice them myself as well. So one thing that I really do practice for myself is, instead of making a list of goals, because I think it's important to have a list and have whatever, you know, physically written out, or, you know, in your mind somewhere. I think that the big thing about goals is like living them. So each day when I go to work, you know, I have this goal to work and take my work outside of just the hospital setting, and, you know, work in different locations, and work with people as they need me. And each time that I meet with a person and I like see them smile, or like I actually realize that I help them, I remind myself of my goal in that moment, and it feels so much more motivating. And if I carry those throughout, like if I do that 8 times a day, and I remind myself and I'm super mindful of it, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm actually doing my goal. I'm reaching my goal. It's just the small steps. If I'm really mindful of it, then it's so much more reinforcing to me, and I feel like I can act on it a lot sooner, rather than maybe looking back at it like a week ago and be like, yeah, actually I did help that person, or like, yeah, I did, you know, maybe I was able to connect with a person and give them some resources. If I do it like in that moment and I feel the body sensations of what that feels like, if I can like notice like, hey, I feel like really excited in my chest, or I'm noticing that I feel happier and I feel really like good, then I know that that's reinforcing. So I'm like, all right, gotta go, gotta do this. I've got to get on with like getting to my goal. So I think it's a lot of that mindfulness that I use.
That's really good. I think setting goals is definitely important. As you know, that we set goals here for all of our students, and they set their own goals. And we recently started doing something as of this week, is where we've had our students set intentions for the day. So
Oh, I do that too.
yeah, so like the kids come as soon as they come in, they set their intention, and their intention isn't like I want to get like an A on this test. It's more of like I want to focus more, or I want to be more confident while I'm studying, or I want to not talk as much. Like little tiny things. And I
Yeah,
think that like setting these like mini goals is what you're doing, and also it raises your confidence, right? Like it like you feel that excitement in your chest, like wow, like I really helped somebody today. And then when our students leave the classroom, they're like, wow, I really listened today, I really
yeah,
followed directions today, I was confident while I was doing my sight words, like I felt a lot better. And that's the real core of this, is that like when you feel confident within your own self and you feel like you're actually moving forward and striving forward, that's when the magic begins to happen, because that
yeah,
momentum is picking up. And like
yeah.
you feel that way when you're setting your goals and living your goals throughout your daily life. And our students feel that way when they're achieving their goals and getting to that next step. So I'm really happy that you said that, because it's definitely really, really, really important to be able to
Yeah.
set goals, and then on the daily, on the regular, be able to work towards them and be mindful of that. And I
Hmm.
think one of my biggest challenges is like I'll go past a goal, and I'll just be like,
Realize.
whatever, I won't even realize. I'll just be like, all right, on to the next one. But if I don't recognize that feeling of like excitement or accomplishment, then I
Yeah.
won't I won't look forward to that feeling again.
Right.
And it
Right.
makes it harder to get to that next goal.
Yeah, and I think
So
it's like I tell people this all the time is like how you feel about yourself when you do something is so important because yeah, like five people in your environment might be able to validate you and say like great job, but unless you truly believe and feel that like I did a good job, there's no reinforcement in the world that is more than like self reinforcement and self
yeah,
validation.
yeah,
So, you know, yeah, like I think it's important that teachers and family members and, social workers and all your friends like tell you that you're doing a good job, but you have to tell yourself like I'm doing a really good job or like, man, I was able to accomplish that intention today and I talked a little bit less or I was able to like, get this one math equation like down that I have been struggling with and like I was
yeah,
able to work through it. And like
yeah,
if you celebrate that moment, then like it's just you and there's nothing else that's going to challenge you. That's just your own thoughts and like your own limitations that you're setting up for yourself. So
yeah,
I think it is a lot of your own mind and like being able to play against those tricks.
yeah, yeah. And our minds do play a lot of tricks on us. Like our minds are always telling us that our minds are always trying to keep us safe. They're always
Yeah.
trying to like our that's the way our brains are programmed, right? Like our brains want to keep us safe and out of danger. So we don't stretch or we don't grow sometimes, and it's because our brains are trying to keep us safe and not injured in any sort of way. And I think like the major challenge is going up against the way that our brains are hardwired, and really just reaching past that, and then feeling, oh my god, like I just got this math problem, or oh my god, like I just wrote like 12 pages, or I finally wrote a complete sentence. Like like even if it's like the smallest of things. I had a student today, and we were working on sight words today, and she's really struggling with her words. And like we were celebrating, like every single word that she got was like high five, like yeah, like let's do this, yeah, come on, I know you could do it, I know you could do it. And then she like read the word, and she was like all, and I was like say it louder, and she's like all, and I was like yeah, like like. And then that confidence kept her going. Even when she struggled, she was able to move past it because she knew that feeling. So I think
Yeah.
recognizing that feeling of accomplishment, like you said, is really, really important. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool. So what is your goal? Like, what do you want to accomplish? What are some of your goals?
So I think my goals are very in line with my career because I live what I do. Like I helping people is not just something that like stop, like I don't go into work and it's like, oh, it's 8:30 and now it's like 5, so I'm good to go. So my goal is very much in line with like my career and like what I practice. So my goal is to reach as many people as I can to help them better learn about themselves and push against a lot of these limitations that society builds, sometimes our environment builds, and to truly feel empowered. So whatever that means for a person. But I think that's like my favorite word that I think of, like when I think of my goals and I think of my life, I think of the word empowerment. Because it's not something that I'm doing. I'm not helping a person, like I'm not doing something for a person. I'm not fixing a person. I'm not telling them what to do, but I'm teaching them so that they can find that within themselves to then change. And so I think that my goal is, whether that's like teaching people new skills, giving resources to people, truly sitting down and listening to them, listening to some of the hardest things that have happened to them in their lives and creating a safe space where they can express some of that stuff, validating, encouraging, working with a lot of different like behavioral theory, like whatever it is, in any type of setting. I think that my goal is just continuing through life and like working on empowering individuals in any which way they need. But, part of that is being like kind and being a good person, and just being available for people, no matter what that means. But I think that that's, my goal. And I think that's is it more, do you want to know about like career goals or like more so like lifestyle goals?
I mean, that was perfect. I think that really sums it up on what your goal is, that you want to help people and that you want to help as many people as you can with the skills that you've acquired, and that you're a lot like me or I'm a lot like you or whatever, both goes the same way, I don't really know. But that like your work doesn't just end. It's not like you go home at 5 o'clock and you're like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'll see you guys all tomorrow morning, 8:30. Like, you go home and you live this stuff, right? Like, while you're, say, on your commute back, I mean, you drive, but like if you're at the gym or if you're out and about or you're trying to make other people's lives better, whether it's like a small smile or like a hi, how are you? That type of thing, or just checking in with your friends and family to make sure that they're okay. I think you just want to reach more people.
Yeah, I think I have a story. The other day I was like running in the neighborhood and I didn't even like tell anyone this story, but it's like when you said that, like every day I was running and there was this family and they were like coming from a church and they had like a bunch of food with them and they spoke Spanish, and I was like speaking like very broken Spanish with them, and I asked them like, do they know about this like one place down the street that like has like hot food? And they had no idea. And I like wrote it down. I was like in the middle of a run and I had my headphones in, and I was like, wait, even if they knew about it, like, yeah. Hey, like if they didn't know. And it was like awesome. Like I just felt like I didn't need to like post that anywhere on Facebook. Like I didn't need to like put that in my journal of like, oh, I got to help someone today. But like it was just like part of my nature. And like, hey, if a person can get more knowledge on something to help themselves, like, and I have this knowledge, like what good is knowledge if I can't share it, or like a skill or like a feeling or anything really. So it's just like I share whatever I know so that people can feel better or work on themselves.
Yeah, and I think also like something that's really shaped your upbringing and also mine is like, our childhood and how we grew up in a very nurturing and loving family. And like, we are, Indian, and we didn't grow up to be like doctors or lawyers, and we didn't go into that, like those like cookie cutter fields, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, if people really enjoy those fields, my thing is like, if you really enjoy becoming a doctor, we have a cousin who really enjoys that, like being a doctor. He enjoys the human body. He like enjoys studying the science about it, and go for it. But we didn't go for those cookie cutter lifestyles. We went for something that would help more people. I do what I do and you do what you do. And I think that's like, we should be very grateful for our parents to have raised us this way. And I'm really happy that you're my sister and that you're making a big difference in the world, because even though, you don't live at home anymore, but like I still see that you're consistently making this effort to move forward and help people in a professional setting or a not so professional setting, whether it's your work life or your family life or your friend life, like whatever, you're always doing your best to help people. And I think that's the major reason that we're here on earth as humans, without getting into like the whole religious or spiritual or any of that stuff. But like, that's the reason that we're here, to help people. And you're fulfilling that as your purpose.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, a couple more questions, but if you were 99 years old and you were on your deathbed, and all of the things that you've accomplished, you've written books, you have like a famous TV show, you're like a motivational speaker on YouTube, and you have like these millions of people that come to these seminars, and you like talk to them about mindfulness, like all that stuff gone. Like you die and like all that stuff is gone. But you had one truth that you can pass on to kids and families. What would that truth be?
This wasn't a question to prepare for.
I know. I know.
So I think you said the biggest truth that I would pass on to anyone.
Yeah, from your experiences.
From my experience. My experience is that if you were to take everything away from a person, if you were to take away their money, if you were to take away their clothes, where they lived, their hair color, their height, if you were to just take everything away and just look at a person, there is not a single difference between any of us. Like, I mean, I work with people of all different colors, shapes, types, histories, incomes. I mean, some very wealthy people and some very poor people, and some people who have gone through some things and some people who have gone through way too many things. And the one thing that I see in each single person is that we are all people who need each other. Like, we need each other, and we are like together. Like, people need to work together. And like, I see it a lot of times that people don't work together, and that's what creates a lot of issues in people's lives. And like, we need to let go of our egos, and we need to let go of things that we think like make us different from each other, because we are all the same. Like, we have a human life within us, and we all need to we all want to reach goals, and we can't do that without each other. So
yeah,
that was deep.
But yeah, that was I gotta give you a high five for that. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was really, 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 that's a great truth to pass on, because we are social animals. We need other people. And in order to succeed in this world, you need to be around other people. Other people are what is going to help you. I said that wrong. Other people are what going to, I don't know. Other people will help you get to the goal that you want to get to. And we can also help other people. And you're right. Like, it doesn't matter skin color, height, weight, culture, religion, none of that stuff, background, none of that stuff matters. What matters is who you are as a human being, and passing on that help with other people. So great. And Shika, how can these parents and families, parents and kids, be a part of your life?
So, I guess, is this a point where I can like kind of talk about what I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I work as a therapist, and I'm trained as a social worker. So I follow a model of like connecting people with resources, empowerment-based techniques, and, you know, just like the general helping model. But my actual role right now is working as a clinical therapist. So I'm a fully licensed mental health professional. And so I've been trained in what is called dialectical behavior therapy. Some of you guys might know about it. People know about what CBT is. It's like one of the most common, you know, therapeutic models that's used in really like across the world. And so what DBT is focusing on the connection between mindfulness and changing behaviors. And so it takes CBT to another level, where we're not just changing our thoughts and our behaviors, but we are making like an active change, like our brain is changing. And so when our brain changes, we also change like our behaviors, and we change our like who we are, and for the better sometimes, you know, hopefully for the better. So I work, you know, primarily, you know, my specialty right now, which can be broken down into so many different ways. But, I work with a lot of people who have high anxiety, some sort of mood disorder, which can be like some depression. It can be mild to severe, some sort of trauma, or, difficulty with regulating emotions. So really I look at how can this therapy help people with getting to their goals. And so if we can work on mindfulness, or like improving your communication, decreasing intensity of emotions when they happen, and then overall like taking care of yourself and your lifestyle. So for 2 years of working as a therapist, I focus a lot on helping like young teens, and then through teenage adolescents and their parents learn to like create a healthy family lifestyle together using those skills together. So I think that in conversations with you, I think what we can try to do is provide workshops for parents on being able to assist their kids if it's like anxiety based, mood based, or like just like general like kids growing up stuff, and how to really work in the behaviorism. So like tips that go beyond things that you might find, like I don't want to put down a magazine or anything, but like one-on-one or group time that we can use to troubleshoot some of the things that are going on. And so it really goes beyond just like, hey, use this skill, but like for you specifically, what does your home look like, what does your schedule look like, and these are the ways that you guys are going to break it down in your life. And so it can be done with like parents, in a workshop, or sometimes it can be done with just the kids in a workshop, and then we could do something together. But a lot of practice-based stuff that you can like learn and then literally take home that day and start practicing.
Yeah, absolutely. So parents, we are talking about setting up some parent workshops and parent groups where you guys will learn about how to manage your kids' behavior, how to help them manage their anxiety. And I know a lot of you parents have kids that have anxiety, because I see your kids all the time. So, don't be shy. Please come to these workshops when we post them up. Shikha is going to be leading these workshops. I'll also be there. And we'd be really happy to have you, because together we just really want to help your kids, and we want to help you have a better life. And always remember that we're here to help you. No matter what, we're always going to guide you in the right direction, and always give you the best advice and the best tools to help you manage your life and also your child's life. So Shikha, thank you so much for coming on to this Role Models podcast. It was an even better podcast than I expected it to be. And I am really happy that you're on. I'm really happy that you're my sister and you're making such a big difference in the world.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm really looking forward to working with, the families and the kids in any way. So if, parents, you have questions, or even just like something I didn't talk about, because my work is very broad, and, it could take me a long time to go into specifics about it. So even if you have questions about like, mental health related questions, please either comment, wherever this video is going to be, or, speak with Sunny and, Mr. Sunny, and then he'll let me know, or we can connect in different ways. But I am here as a resource in any which way that you need. And if I can't find the answers, I will 100% find someone who can find the answers for you. So I thank you for having me on.